Hey everyone, Felix from Nintendo Life here, and today we're here to review for you Hades 2 for the Nintendo Switch 1 and 2. This review was written by the wonderful Alana Higgs for NintendoLife.com and has been adapted into this video by me. Can time not be stopped? That's the question Hades 2 asks you every time you clear a run. The stakes are bigger in Supergiant Games' first ever sequel. This is no longer just about family drama, it's about a dysfunctional family defending all they have against the clutches of the Titan of Time. It's a story of tragedy, of fallings, and the unseen, headed up by the princess of the underworld Melanoe attempting to save her kingdom. We love Hades 2, though we also just love about everything Supergiant Games has ever made. It was the original Hades that sent us down the path of checking out the studio's back catalogue, an ancient Greek soap opera about Zacharias attempting to defy his father and escape the underworld. It's extremely personal, using Greek myth to expertly spin a yarn around a roguelike structure. Hades 2 once again showcases a horn of beautifully written characters and stories amidst that roguelike cycle. The writing is the star here, with tons of new characters for the writers to sink their teeth into, and they do it fantastically. Even returning characters have a few surprises up their sleeves, whether it is how they conduct themselves during the war, their brand new and almost always gorgeous designs, or their impeccably realized voices. We absolutely have to talk to every character after every run, because they always have something different to say and something to react to. Nemesis might chide us for dying too early one run, while the next might be jealous as we manage to conquer Kronos. Melanoe's mentor is always looking for more from the princess, but is also equally ready to praise. And this time around, the gods and goddesses are never shy about what they dislike about mortals, even Melanoe. Surprise! It turns out that the Greek deities suck, actually, and that leads to some very interesting discussions about greed or misunderstanding of the human need for hope and the like. We're glad Supergiant's character writing is still on form, as the narrative itself felt a little flat for us. The game uses Greek tragedy as a framework for Melanoe's plight fantastically, but her war on the Titan of Time began to feel a little rushed towards the end, and we missed the emotive connection. Family is still key here, as with any good tragedy, but it feels a little more at arm's length. Those little narrative trip-ups are easy to overlook though, as the game is staggeringly beautiful, particularly on Switch 2. Gen Z's character art truly shines with every portrait, featuring little flicker animation to highlight their specialities or traits, and environments that hide secrets where their attention to detail screams at you. It doesn't matter if you're playing in docked or handheld either, Hades 2 is utterly flawless, though the 120 FPS docked has a slight edge for us. Handheld is locked at 60 frames per second. We were also really impressed with the Switch 1 version. While image quality is lower both handheld and docked, it runs at a very smooth 60 frames per second in both cases, with the only hitch coming from the longer load times. Booting up the game takes more than double the time than on Switch 2, and loading new screens meets the same fate. Time can't quite stop the Switch 1 version, but it certainly slows down. One thing that doesn't slow down, however, is the gameplay, which really has that magic again. Initially, everything felt extremely familiar, but after fumbling or getting greedy a few times, we quickly realized that we needed to completely rethink how we approached the sequel. You can't play it like it's Hades. That's been true since early access. We transferred our save data over from Steam seamlessly, and it took us some time to adjust to Melanoe's moveset. She's not just the princess of the underworld, she's also a witch, and magic is the key difference between her and her brother. While almost all her actions are the same, each one acts differently. The cast in particular took us forever to nail down. We were so used to firing magic missiles from range or setting up icy laser beams that the idea of getting down and dirty with a more fragile, slowly attacking character before dashing away again was hard to overcome. But we became obsessed with it. It is now our favorite part of Melanoe's kit. When you combine everything together, Hades 2's mechanical richness is staggering. Omega Attack, one for attack, special, and cast, are affected by every weapon type, aspect, and every deity has a boon that affects each of these. magic management becomes a vital part of every encounter that can be managed with boons and other things. Melinoe can bring a familiar with her to help gather resources or attack and enhance her own skills. We can even call upon Celine's moon magic to briefly turn invulnerable or revive dead foes and have them fight for us. Admittedly, this feels like a bit of an afterthought on most builds, and it's easily the part of the kit we dug into the least. Sorry, Celine. Your design is beautiful though. Time and time again, we embarked on a run, tried some new weapons, boons, keepsakes, aspects, and felt the familiarity and comfort of Hades' return, just in new wrapping. But this time there isn't just one run, there are two different paths. One to the underworld, and the other to the top of Mount Olympus. The former eventually suffers a bit from that familiar Hades structure, though some of the later environments make for a good change of pace, and eventually felt easier than the first game's run ever did. The surface, however, oh boy, we still get our backside handed to us every so often. If we ever got bored with one run, we'd swap and go to the other. You can do them both multiple times anyway, and given how differently each boss and encounter can and should be approached, it's good practice. Now with every death, with every failure to stop time, you get a little better. Plus, there's always the joy of hearing Darren Korb's outstanding soundtrack wherever you go. We could probably write an entire review about Skilla and her band as she belts out tunes during battles with Melinoe about clawing our eyes out and drowning us to death. But that would be discounting the rest of the music. It's a must listen. After every run, you'll bring back a handful of resources, some of which you forage along the way, while others are rewards. These are required to cast incantations, which often help out in your runs or are story related, buy items or nectar, decorate the crossroads, and so on. But there are way too many of these to manage, and some are more scarce. Every biome has its own flower, seed, metal, fish, etc. And then there's excess currency, which we can sell for another currency. When there's already so much stuff to play with, we could do with fewer resources or currencies to manage. So there is a lot going on, a little too much, though almost all of it is exceptional. To be honest, we're amazed that Supergiant has largely managed to live up to the towering heights of Hades with this sequel. There is no doubt that mechanically, this is a huge improvement. We were worried about the team continuing with the formula, but there are plenty of fresh ways to approach every run that makes the whole game so memorish. We've varied our playstyle far more than we ever did with Hades, and we feel like we have so much more to discover beyond the credits. So in conclusion, Supergiant Games is 5 for 5 with Hades 2, a huge triumphant sequel that manages to diverge mechanically and offer more challenges and variety than its predecessor. It helps that it's nearly faultless on Switch 1 and 2 in particular. Sometimes there's a little bit too much going on, and in shooting for a bigger, more tragic story, we think it's lost a bit of heart. But quite frankly, we don't want time to stop, because if it does, we won't be able to play Hades 2 anymore. We here at Nintendo Live give Hades 2 for the Nintendo Switch 1 and 2 a 9 out of 10.